with a little imagination.
Bridgerton might look like a proper period drama with its ballrooms and tea parties, but underneath all that silk and etiquette, there are some seriously steamy moments happening that these characters absolutely could not resist. And here's the wild part. The scenes we're all rewinding and obsessing over would have gotten people completely ruined in Regency-era society.
Come now, it is not proper to stare.
But the craziest thing is that every single one of these characters knew the risks and went for it anyway because the chemistry was just that good. So let's dive into every scandalous affair in Bridgerton and break down just how much trouble our favorite characters were willing to risk for moments that felt way too good to pass up. Let's start with one of the most iconic moments in the entire series, that carriage scene between Colin and Penelope in season 3. The tension has been building for literal years, and when Colin finally realizes what's been right in front of him the whole time, he absolutely cannot wait another second. Being alone in an enclosed carriage with a woman you're not engaged to was scandalous enough on its own in Regency society.
We will stop at Bridgerton House first. What do you want?
Did Lord Deverlin propose?
What business is that of yours?
I need to know, did he propose?
But Colin doesn't care. Penelope doesn't care. Years of pining and longing just explode in that tiny space, and you can see the exact moment when both of them decide their reputations are worth less than this feeling.
Now, will you please let us ride home in silence and leave me alone?
I cannot.
Please!
I cannot. Because... what if I did have feelings for you?
The way Colin looks at her like he's been starving and she's the only thing that can satisfy him, that's not someone thinking about social consequences. That's someone who's done pretending he doesn't want exactly what he wants.
But I'd very much like to be more than friends. So much more.
However, before we dive deeper into season 3's carriage chaos, let's jump back to where this whole beautiful mess started. Daphne and Simon's fake courtship in season 1 was supposed to be all strategy and no feeling, but the second they actually touched, that plan went straight out the window.
Closer. If this is to work, you must appear madly in love.
All those unchaperoned walks in the garden where they definitely should have brought someone along but somehow never did.
You are beastly. Never mind.
Those intimate conversations with no one around where they kept getting closer and closer.
What happens between a husband and a wife? Well, it is a natural continuation of what happens at night.
At night? What happens at night?
When you are alone.
When I am sleeping.
Not when you are sleeping.
The prolonged, improper conversation with every meeting made every consequence disappear.
When you touch yourself. You do touch yourself.
Each one of those moments was considered deeply improper, and they kept doing it anyway because being proper felt impossible when the attraction was that strong. However, one thing that feels almost impossible for a lot of Bridgerton and Queen Charlotte lovers is finding shows that truly scratch that same royal romantic itch. Marie Antoinette and Victoria are perfect examples, both centered around powerful queens and early reign drama. But here is the frustrating part. If you live in the US, Marie Antoinette is completely hidden. It does not even show up unless you switch to the UK. And if you are not in the US or the UK, Victoria disappears too. Same subscriptions, locked content. That is why I use NordVPN. One click, change your location, and suddenly the shows you are already paying for actually appear. The link is in the description. It gets super interesting because the garden kiss is where things went from risky to absolutely reckless. A single kiss in a public garden with no chaperone present was enough to force a marriage in that era, not because it was romantic, but because reputations could be destroyed if anyone saw them. And here's the thing, they knew someone could walk by at any second. They knew the rules. They kissed anyway because at that moment, the need to touch each other was stronger than the fear of getting caught. Interestingly enough, the show loves putting characters in situations where they know they should stop but physically cannot walk away, like when Anthony and Kate are alone together for the first time in season 2, and you can see them both fighting the pull.
Good day, sir.
We've not yet been introduced!
I'm afraid that is not possible, not when I have a victory lap to enjoy!
The prolonged eye contact at every event, the way they can't stop staring at each other across ballrooms and dinner tables, even though Anthony is actively courting her sister, that alone was considered emotional impropriety.
Was I truly that blind?
Funnily enough, you didn't even have to touch someone to cross the line. Just looking at them with that much intensity was enough to spark serious gossip.
To satisfy men's carnal lusts and appetites, like brute beasts that have no understanding, but reverently, discreetly, and mindfully.
However, the bee incident might be one of the most intimate moments in the entire series without anyone actually kissing, and it's pure instinct overriding everything else. Anthony sees Kate in distress, and his body moves.
No, do not do
This is only a beat. Ow!
His hand on her chest, their faces inches apart, the heavy breathing, the complete vulnerability, entirely improper for unmarried individuals, and neither of them is thinking about propriety for even a second.
I have been harmed.
If anyone had walked in on that moment, both of their reputations would have been in grave danger. But at that moment, all Anthony can think about is making sure she's okay, and all Kate can think about is how close he is. Interestingly, season 2 also gave us the scene, which is where Anthony and Kate finally stop fighting what they want. This moment happens before they're married, and Kate knows exactly what she's risking.
It seems the two of us are finally seeing eye to eye on something.
I suppose we are.
She knows that if anyone discovers them, her entire future is over. But when Anthony touches her, when he looks at her like she's the only thing in the world that matters, the risk becomes irrelevant. The desire is too strong. The connection is too deep. They've been dancing around this for so long that when the moment finally arrives, there's no hesitation. But let's jump back to season 1 for a second because we need to talk about Sienna and Anthony's affair. This is an entirely different kind of forbidden passion. A nobleman sneaking around with an opera singer, meeting in secret, stealing moments whenever they can.
I'm here because I miss you. I cannot think of anything else. Sienna, come back to me.
The class difference alone made this relationship absolutely unacceptable, but Anthony kept going back.
Your position in life remains unchanged. And so too does mine. You are the Viscount. Your responsibility will always be to that title above all else. You shall marry, sire an heir, and guard your family.
He couldn't stay away from her, even though he knew it couldn't go anywhere. However, it's not just the main couples getting into scandalous situations they can't resist. Season 3 gave us Violet Bridgerton and Marcus Anderson, and watching a widowed Viscountess rediscover desire is absolutely beautiful.
Your brother?
Lord Marcus Anderson. It is a pleasure to formally meet you.
Violet Bridgerton. Lady Bridgerton, the Dowager, formally.
Society expected widows to remain emotionally restrained, maybe even celibate, but Violet is done living by those rules to get her garden watered.
You have the chance to experience a love match. That is something I myself have not given up on finding in my second act.
The intimate, emotionally charged conversations she has with Marcus, the way she lets herself feel something again after years of just being a mother, and the best part is watching her realize she's allowed to want something for herself. And then there's Benedict in season 3, exploring desire in ways that feel authentic to him. His relationship with Lady Tilly Arnold is scandalous because she's sexually liberated and completely unapologetic about what she wants, and Benedict is drawn to that freedom.
I have come to call on you.
Mr. Bridgerton, I do not wish to be called on.
They have open flirtation, unchaperoned meetings, and she's teaching him that desire doesn't have to fit into society's narrow boxes.
But a feeling between two people, whatever their sex, is the most natural thing in the world.
Then there's his encounter with a man, something that was literally illegal in that era, but Benedict follows what feels right anyway. The courage it takes to explore that part of himself, knowing the potential consequences, is massive, but the need for authenticity wins out. Funnily enough, one of the most scandalous things in the entire show isn't even a physical affair. It's Penelope being Lady Whistledown. The thrill she gets from wielding that kind of power, controlling the social narrative of the entire ton while everyone thinks she's just a wallflower, is its own kind of intoxication.
Her.
Women weren't supposed to have that kind of influence, but Penelope couldn't resist the rush of it. Every time she publishes another scandal sheet, she's risking everything, but the power and freedom of having a voice is too addictive to give up. But let's get back to the physical chemistry, because season 3 also gave us Colin's sudden awareness of Penelope, and watching him realize what he's been missing is everything.
Have you seen Francesca?
I have not.
You can see the exact moment when Colin stops caring about what's proper and starts only caring about what he wants. Interestingly enough, season 2 gave us another forbidden connection with Eloise and Theo Sharp. An aristocratic woman spending time alone with a working-class man, having intellectual conversations that stimulate her mind in ways ballroom small talk never could, was considered class betrayal.
What's your name?
Eloise Bridgerton.
Pleased to meet you, Miss Eloise. I'm Theo Sharp.
I know.
You know.
But Eloise keeps going back to that print shop because talking to Theo makes her feel alive in a way that her prescribed life never has.
Do not tell me you've travelled at this ungodly hour to offer more corrections of my writing.
It was the only time I could leave without being seen. And on the contrary, I've come to ask for your discernment.
She's choosing intellectual intimacy and emotional connection over social standing, and you can see how exhilarating that freedom is for her. The fact that they kept meeting in secret, being emotionally vulnerable with each other, shows that sometimes the scandal is worth it for something real.